Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of Erinn's Book Club. I have another book review to do. This one actually took me a lot longer to do because I've been distracted with work and I've gotten into Sims 4 and I just had a horse show, so it's taken me a little bit longer to get this read, but I did read it and I just want to go through it. This book that I read is an older copy. I hate the cover. I think the cover is ugly and just doesn't do the dragons justice, but it's The Masterharper of Pern by McCaffrey. Again, hideous cover. And it's about a main character named Robinson, who is what's called a Masterharper, which are basically musical teachers, like musical school teacher kind of people. And it's told in his life, in the view of his life. And the interesting thing is it goes through different nuances and different events that happen throughout many of the other books, but it's told in the view of the Masterharper, who was part of all of it, and a different perspective from all of it. It also gave the starting point or the beginning point of Robinson's life. It explains the difficult situation of his birth and his childhood, and a mother who adores him but also adores her husband, and a husband who adores his wife but is resentful of the attention that his son is getting from his wife, and that relationship never gets mended. It gets improved, but it never gets mended. And it's so bad, it's to the point where I really dislike the father. I think he's a very selfish man. I think throughout the book he tries to improve, but it doesn't work. And it's a man that I just kind of disregarded right from the beginning because I didn't like him. And it goes through, the Masterharper growing up and the time when it was a long interval between the Threadfall and a time when the dragons seemed kind of obsolete. And the author then goes through what would happen to man if you had to completely change your outlook on life, but continue to pay the prices to keep something alive that you're not going to benefit for in your lifetime. And what happens when you add greed to that. And it was just, like all of her books, it was a very good study in human nature. And she doesn't romanticize the human nature part of it. She brings in these ugly, evil people that would happen in real life. This villain, though, of hers, this Fax villain, I had a really hard time seeing his point of view. So I had a really hard time investing in the villain enough to just care what happens with him. And all I ever wanted was him to get injured or him to die, which is kind of different from her because she usually gets villains that have a past that kind of explains their new future. But all in all, I really enjoyed the book. I think it was a great puzzle piece to put the whole picture together. It was something that I think everybody should read once they've read most of the series. I think it's right in the proper suggested place to read it. That being said, I'm going to read the back of it to you guys so you understand what's going on. And, let's go from there. So in a time when the deadly scourge Thread has not fallen on Pern for centuries, and many dare to hope that Thread will never fall again, a boy is born to Harper Hall. A musical prodigy who has the ability to speak with the dragons. He is called Robinson. He is destined to be one of the most famous and beloved leaders Pern has ever known. It is a perilous time for the harpers who sing of Thread. They are being turned away from holds, derided, attacked, even beaten. In this climate of unrest, Robinson will come to his own. But despite the tragedies that beset his own life, he continues to believe in music and in the dragons. He is determined to save his beloved Pern from itself, so that the dragon riders can be ready to fly against the dreaded Thread when it last returns. That's another thing I wanted to mention with this book. this is another one where the dragons were not the focus of the story, and it was still an engaging read, which makes me feel better about maybe trying to find some of her other books to see if maybe I'm going to enjoy her other books, even though it's not a Dragon Riders of Pern book. So that will be an interesting experiment. But all in all, really enjoyed the book. You guys got to read it if you're part of the series, and I will let you know when I have another book read. Thanks so much, guys.